My cousin was fooling around in the back kitchen and poured a whole bottle of toilet cleaner into the pot of marinade. Terrified, I immediately turned off the heat and dumped out that whole pot of aged marinade. The boss lady rushed in and struck the back of my hand with an iron ladle. She said that pot of marinade had been passed down for 10 years and was worth more than my life. My younger cousin cried, insisting that I had deliberately wronged him. The shop owner's wife deducted a year's wages from me on the spot. My parents also came to the shop and made a scene, saying I had disgraced the family. To pay for that pot of soup, they sent me off to be the paralyzed man's wife in town. I've been caring for bodily waste for 15 years, and the scars on my hands have never healed. Opening my eyes again, I returned to the day my cousin was holding toilet cleaner and moving toward the pot of braising liquid. This time, I stood at the door without saying a word. The owner smelled the pot and tossed in another handful of spices. Just marinate it a little longer, the flavor will cover everything up. We're still selling it tonight as usual. The landlady slammed the rag onto my face. Go on, clear the front table, the customers have been waiting forever. I caught the rag and walked outside. My cousin caught up and asked in a low voice, Sis, are you really not going to tell her? Tell her what? You know, the toilet cleaner. I watched him. What toilet cleaner? He was stunned for a moment, then forced a smile. Nothing, just asking. He turned and hurried back to the stove, picked up the strainer, and helped the boss lady scoop out the chicken legs with quick, efficient movements. Auntie, this color is really beautiful. Your craftsmanship is the best in town. You and your sweet talk, 100 times better than your sister. The shop owner glanced at me. I lowered my head and wiped the table, saying nothing. At this time in my past life, I would have already poured that pot of soup down the drain, with a bloody mark from a ladle strike on the back of my hand. In this life, I wiped down the last table and put the rag back. The first customer walks in, Uncle Zhao from the hardware store. The usual, 2 braised chicken legs, a plate of pig ears, and a bowl of rice soaked in braising sauce. The owner briskly scooped the braised goods out of the pot. Steam rose, and the aroma of star anise and cinnamon filled the shop. Uncle Zhao took the rice, drank a big mouthful of the soup, and smacked his lips. The soup today is thicker than yesterday's. Of course, I added some spices. A 10-year-old master stock only gets more flavorful the longer it simmers. I stood nearby holding the tray, my knuckles taut and my fingernails digging into my palms. Uncle Zhao finished eating and left. The second guest, the third, the fourth, no one said there was a problem. My cousin squatted by the back kitchen door, peeling garlic, sneaking glances at me from time to time. Only when he saw that my expression remained blank did his tense shoulders finally relax. At 7:30 in the evening, an unfamiliar guest arrived, a white shirt, thin-framed glasses. Before sitting down, he wiped his chopsticks with a tissue 3 times. He ordered a combo platter and 2 bowls of soup. After a couple of bites, his chopsticks paused in mid-air. Ma'am, this soup tastes off. I clenched the rag in my hand. The shop owner leaned out halfway. No way, this is a 10-year-old marinade. Everyone in town knows it. It's your first time trying it, so it's normal if you're not used to it. There's a bitter taste. The man took another sip. The root of my tongue feels numb. That's Saokeo. That's how authentic braised flavor tastes. The raised her voice, full of confidence. The man asked no further questions and drank the soup until the bowl was empty. When he was paying the bill, he made a phone call. As I was clearing the dishes nearby, I heard him say, tomorrow is Director Zhang's 60th birthday. Book this place for 2 tables, prepare 2 tables worth of food, with 4 portions of braising sauce on the side, make it impressive. 2 tables meant at least 20 people. The boss's wife immediately went up to greet him. Oh my, a big order. My braised dishes are the most authentic in town. After 10 minutes of bargaining, the boss's wife was grinning from ear to ear. After seeing the customer off, she slapped her cousin on the shoulder. The big fire starts tomorrow. Auntie, you must prepare the ingredients well. Don't turn off the heat for this soup, let it simmer overnight, then add the chicken and duck tomorrow morning. Then she turned and glared at me. Xiao Qiu, watch the stove, add firewood every hour, the fire must not go out. If the soup boils dry, I'll skin you alive. Okay, learn from your cousin. The guests all praise how sweet-tongued he is. You go all day without speaking. You'll still be doing odd jobs after 3 years, my younger cousin chimed in with a grin. Aunt, I'll help you kill the chicken tomorrow morning. Good child. I didn't speak. After everyone had left, I was the only one in the kitchen. The fire in the stove heated the bottom of the pot, while oil and spices floated on the surface of the soup. The empty bottle of toilet cleaner was shoved by my cousin into the corner under the stove, its cap facing outward. I glanced at it but didn't move. In my past life, I tried to stop him, and what I got in return was a medal. Ladle, a scar on the back of my hand, and 15 years as a bedridden cripple on the Kong. In this life, I just added another piece of firewood to the stove. The fire grew stronger, and the soup bubbled fiercely, churning out murky bubbles one after another. Tomorrow, 20 people will gather to celebrate Director Zhang's birthday. I quietly keep watch over this pot of poisonous soup. The landlady's iron ladle clanged noisily against the stove. Xiaoqiu, where the hell are you? Did you boil the water? I had been keeping watch all night and immediately got up. It's boiled. The soup never went off the heat. She leaned in to smell the bucket and nodded with satisfaction. All right, it's been simmering overnight and is flavorful enough. Bring me those 6 chickens from the backyard, and I'll cook them myself. I headed to the backyard and ran into my cousin coming the other way. He was carrying a bunch of cilantro in his hand and smiled when he saw me. Sis, tough night on guard duty, you must be tired. I ignored him and went to pick up the chicken. All 6 chickens and half a pig's head were put into the braising broth. The boss lady directed me the whole time while my cousin handed things over. Every time he passed her something, she praised him, but when she ordered me around, she didn't even lift an eyelid. At 9 o'clock, the door pushed open. It was my mom. Mom, what brings you here? And asked me to come check. Afraid you might bully my cousin. My knuckles were white as I gripped the chicken's neck tightly. Without a word, it happened the same way in my past life. The first to arrive was my aunt. Right after the back of my hand got hit by the ladle, my mother followed, and the first thing she did upon entering was to apologize to the shop owner. My mother sat at the door, cracking sunflower seeds and chatting with the shop owner. My younger cousin brought the tea over. Auntie, have some tea. Oh my, what a thoughtful child. Xiaoqiu, look at him. I lowered my head, the kitchen knife thudding steadily against the cutting board. At 10 o'clock, my aunt arrived. The first thing she did upon entering was touch my cousin's face. You've lost weight. Are you tired? Not tired. My aunt is good to me, but there's a lot of work, and my sister doesn't really help much. My younger cousin looked at me, calculation hidden in his eyes. My aunt's face fell. Xiaoqiu, your brother is 3 years younger than you. Can't you be more considerate? His father is gone. How can you bring yourself to make him do heavy work? I didn't explain. The shop owner cut in. Exactly. Xiaoqiu works hard, but she's not quick on her feet. Yesterday when a customer said the soup wasn't right, she just stood there without saying a word. It was Shao Jia who managed to smooth things over. Auntie listened with even more enthusiasm. In the future, if any good opportunities come up, look after our Shao Jia. Xiaoqiu doesn't have much potential. She might as well just marry anyone and be done with it someday. My mother cracked and ate sunflower seeds in silence, not saying a word. Not long after those words in my past life, they actually married me off to the lame man east of town. At 11, the food preparation was done. The boss lady told me to take out the trash. As I bent down, I caught a glimpse from the corner of my eye of my cousin slyly stuffing small change from the counter into his pocket. Their eyes met. He paused, then curved his lips slightly, silently mouthing the words, "You dare say that?" He was 16. Blocking the aisle, I walked past him carrying the trash bin. His voice suddenly rose. "Aunt, my sister stole a chicken leg." The boss lady rushed in. "Did she eat it?" "No, my own brother saw it with his own eyes, and you still deny it. There's one missing." She picked up the iron spoon. I looked at the spoon, instinctively pulling my hand back, the spot where I was injured in my previous life throbbing with pain. My younger cousin lowered his head, his shoulders trembling as he sobbed. His aunt hugged him. "Did Xiaoqiu bully you?" "I didn't eat any, so your little brother is lying." My mom put down the sunflower seeds. "Xiaoqiu, you've been stubborn since you were little. Just admit it was a chicken leg." "All right." The shop owner tapped her ladle on the cutting board. "The cost of the chicken leg will be deducted from your wages." I clenched my fist. 600 a month, deduct 20. If it were a past life, I'd have had a whole year's worth of deductions. "Fine, sis, I'm sorry." My cousin, with a tearful tone, acted very aggrieved. I didn't look at him. I walked to the kitchen. The large pot of soup was rolling and bubbling, with all the braised dishes for 20 people inside. The empty bottle still lay under the stove. I bent down and kicked it further into the blind corner. 2 p.m. The boss lady shouted at the top of her lungs, "Have the chicken feet been blanched? Director Zhang's table needs 8 orders. If one is missing, you'll answer to me." The stoves in the back kitchen were all roaring fiercely. I was chopping vegetables and plating dishes on my own, my hands never stopping. My cousin was writing the menu at the front counter. his handwriting crooked and uneven. Xiaojia's handwriting is really delicate. The female owner smiled and praised him. The kitchen knife in my hand paused for a moment, the door curtain was pushed aside, and a woman rushed in holding a child. Who's in charge? There's something wrong with the braised meat, the proprietress wiped the smile off her face and stood up. What's wrong? My son ate your pig's ears last night and has had diarrhea all morning. The boy was 5 or 6 years old, his face pale and his lips tinged with blue. Through the gap in the kitchen curtain, I watched. I had already poured out the previous life's broth, so this scene shouldn't exist. The owner's wife put her hands on her hips and sneered. Ma'am, my family has been selling this for 10 years without any issues. Who knows where you ate something bad? It's definitely from your place. Where's the receipt? Anyone can make empty accusations. The boss's wife raised her voice even higher. My aunt was watching the commotion from the side, while my mother continued cracking and eating sunflower seeds. My cousin leaned in and whispered, maybe the kid has a bad stomach, so why did they even come to our place? Yes, the shop owner slammed the table. Even drinking cold water gives me diarrhea, and you blame me for that. The woman got anxious. The shop owner slapped a 100 yuan bill on the table. Take this and go see a doctor at the clinic. Don't come here again. The woman stared at the money, trembling all over. Only 100. My son has been vomiting all morning. Make any more trouble, and I'll call the police for extortion. Boss Zheng, bare-chested, revealed his tattoo-covered arms as he came out from the back and stood at the door. What's all the noise? Looking for trouble? The woman glanced at his tattoos, clutched the 100 yuan bill, and turned back before leaving. Just you wait, I'm reporting you to the health clinic. Go ahead and report. Boss Zheng flicked the ash off his cigarette. The boss's wife turned and caught me watching from behind the door. What are you looking at? If she really goes to report tomorrow, I'll just say you were the one who cooked the dishes. Just this one sentence, and I have to take the fall for it. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. I'd shielded her too many times in the past life. This time, it wasn't my turn. My younger cousin brought over a bowl of soup and handed it to me. Sis, have a sip to settle your stomach. The noodle soup had chopped scallions floating on the surface and was steaming hot, but I knew what was hidden inside. Not thirsty? Why won't you drink it? Think it's dirty? My cousin suddenly raised his voice. The boss's wife immediately pricked up her ears. My brother kindly served you soup, and you think my soup is unclean? Several pairs of eyes instantly fixed on me. I picked up the bowl and touched it to my lips. Too hot. Wait for it to cool down before drinking. Stop being so dramatic. The shop owner turned around and busied herself with other things. My cousin stared at me with a malicious grin. Taking advantage of the moment when no one was watching, I poured all the soup into the swill bucket. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. All 8 insulated buckets were stacked onto the tricycle. Follow the tricycle and deliver them to the private rooms on the 2nd floor of Diola restaurant. Once you're done, get your ass back here as fast as you can. I rode the tricycle out of the alley entrance. Red lanterns hang at the entrance of Dua Tower, with a banner celebrating Director Zhang's 60th birthday. I carry the bucket upstairs. The waiter opens the lid and divides the contents onto plates, filling 2 large tables. The waiter tries a piece of chicken liver and gives a thumbs up. So flavorful. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, smiled faintly, took the empty bucket and left. The boss lady shoved the receiver right in front of my face. Xiao Qiu, phone call. It's from Dua restaurant. Take it. I picked up the receiver. The voice on the other end cracked with urgency. There's something wrong with your braised dishes. Customers' mouths are numb, their throats hurt, and 3 have already vomited. I stood still, unmoving. The waiter was still shouting over the phone. Director Zhang's son has a tingling tongue, and his wife has also thrown up. Have your boss get on the phone. The boss's wife snatched the receiver. Threw up? No way. The voice on the other end was so loud that even I could hear it clearly. We've taken her to the hospital. My daughter-in-law's mouth corners are blistered. She said the soup was corrosive. The boss lady's face turned pale instantly. She slammed down the receiver, rushed into the kitchen, and grabbed her cousin, who was playing on his phone. Did you put something in the soup? No, auntie. Her cousin's eyes were full of innocence, acting very convincingly. The shop owner's wife turned her head and glared at me. Xiao Qiu, did you do this? I kept watch all night and didn't touch a thing. Then what happened? She clutched the iron ladle, spinning around in place. Manager Zheng came out with a livid face. What's the customer's reaction? Blisters in the mouth, a sore throat, and they've thrown up. The soup is problematic, Mr. Zheng's gaze swept toward the bucket of brine soup. Pour it out now. I didn't move. In my previous life, I poured it out myself. only to be repaid with an iron ladle and 15 years as a bedridden cripple. In this life, he was the one who personally gave the order to pour it out. The boss lady's eyes instantly turned red. A 10-year-old master stock. What's more important, your life or the soup? Boss Zheng roared out loud. Trembling, she went to turn off the fire, but the 200-gene iron barrel was far too heavy for her to move. Xiao Qiu, pour it out. I walked over, grabbed the rim of the barrel, and poured the entire pot of poisonous broth, which had been simmering for 10 years, down the drain. The phone rang again. It was the town health center calling. The shop owner answered, and her face instantly turned pale. 8 hospitalized. A 72-year-old elderly woman with esophageal burns is being rescued. My mother suddenly stood up, and also stood up following suit. The younger cousin retreated to the corner, pressing his whole body against the wall, and the smile on his face completely collapsed. Red and blue lights flickered outside the door. The health inspector, the epidemic prevention personnel in white coats, and the police officer walked in together, who is in charge of Chioe braised dishes. Boss Zheng braced himself and stepped forward. Several diners at Diyue Tower have suffered esophageal burns, and food chemical contamination has been confirmed. We need to collect evidence from the kitchen. The supervisor headed straight to the back kitchen. I stepped aside to let them in. The flashlight beam swept under the stove. An empty bottle lay there, its label facing outward. He bent down and picked up the bottle of toilet cleaner. No one in the back kitchen made a sound. The boss's wife opened her mouth wide, and the iron ladle in her hand clattered to the ground with a bang. My cousin's legs gave way, and he slid down into a crouch on the floor. The inspector placed the evidence into a sealed bag and looked up at the black hemispherical surveillance camera in the corner. There's a surveillance camera here. The proprietress's body instantly froze on the spot. That was Boss Zheng's surveillance camera installed to guard against thieves. It recorded the cousin pouring toilet cleaner, as well as the proprietress adding flavorings and saying, "Still sell it as usual." The police officer turned on the body camera. "Pull up the footage." When the surveillance footage was pulled up, there were 7 people standing in the kitchen: the health inspector, the police officer, Boss Zheng, his wife, my cousin, my mom, and my aunt and me. The surveillance footage was in grayscale, with no sound. The timestamp shows 3:47 p.m. In the footage, the cousin, holding the bottle of toilet cleaner, looks left and right, then twists off the cap and flips his wrist. The entire bottle of liquid is poured into the pot of braising broth. From start to finish, it takes less than 8 seconds. No one spoke in the kitchen. My aunt was the first to react. "No, that's not Xiaojia. You can't see the face clearly. From that angle, it's impossible to see clearly at all." The police officer glanced at her. "Is this your son? He's only 16 years old. The person in the video is wearing exactly the same clothes as your son." That is. My aunt panicked and turned to look at my cousin. My cousin's lips quivered uncontrollably, and his eyes instantly filled with tears. The exact same tears, the exact same quiver, the exact same innocent expression as in the previous life. But this time, he wasn't crying for the shop owner's wife, he was crying for the police. "I didn't mean it, I was just messing around, The health inspector's voice was icy cold. 8 people are in the hospital, and a 72-year-old woman is in emergency care with esophageal burns, and you're telling me this is just messing around?" Tears immediately streamed down my younger cousin's face. He turned to look at me. "Sis, tell them I didn't mean it, I was just curious." I stood in the corner, silently. In my previous life, that was also how he called me, sis. Then he cried and said that I had deliberately wronged him. "Sis, say something." I looked at his face and calmly shook my head. "I don't know what you're talking about." My aunt rushed over, grabbed my arm, and dug her nails into my flesh. "Xiaoqiu, you know full well. You were standing right at the door watching him fall, so why didn't you stop him?" I looked down at the red mark left by her fingernails. Why didn't I stop him? In my previous life, I did stop him. The back of my hand was slashed by an iron ladle, leaving a scar that stayed with me for 15 years, never fading. My wages were withheld for a year, and my parents sent me off to be the wife of a paralyzed man. For 15 years, I handled his bedpans. I tried to stop it. Yet everyone else is living well, only I am drowning in filth. I looked up. I didn't see anything. I wasn't in the kitchen at the time. The surveillance footage can prove it. When my cousin was pouring the toilet cleaner, I was indeed not in the frame. As I was wiping the table in the front at that time, my aunt was about to say something else, but the police officer interrupted her. "Calm down, this is no longer a private family matter, it's a public health and safety incident." Then The scene continues to move backward. The time is 3:52. The boss lady steps into the back kitchen, leans over the braising broth barrel, and gives it a sniff. In the shot, her expression visibly changes. She furrows her brow tightly and her lips move slightly. Then she grabbed a handful of spices from beside her and tossed them into the soup. She stirred it twice with the ladle, then she leaned in and took a sniff, nodded. After that, she turned around and walked out. No one could hear her, but everyone present could guess what she was saying. The shop owner's wife couldn't stop trembling. I didn't know it was toilet cleaner. I thought the strange smell was just, you noticed the unusual smell, but instead of throwing it away, you added spices to mask it and kept selling it. The policeman's voice was not loud, but every word landed heavily on the listeners' hearts. The proprietress's legs gave way, and she collapsed directly onto the ground. Boss Zheng stood nearby, stopping his smoking, his face a mix of confusion and panic. Well, we're victims too. It was this kid who poured it out. What does that have to do with my wife? Your wife knowingly sold food products that were abnormal, and is now suspected of the crime of producing and selling food that fails to meet safety standards. The word crime fell, and the kitchen fell completely silent. My mother had been standing at the far edge the whole time, without saying a single word from start to finish. Only then did she speak. She wasn't looking at the boss lady, nor at her cousin, nor at my aunt. Her gaze fell straight on me. Xiao Qiu, did you know all along? I met her eyes. Know what? You saw your cousin pour something into the soup, didn't you? I remained silent for 3 seconds. I don't know. My mom's mouth immediately drooped. She didn't press further, but the look she gave me was exactly the same as in my previous life. Not a trace of sympathy, only suspicion. In her previous life, she suspected me of wronging my younger cousin. In this life, she suspects me of standing by while others died. No matter which life, the person she suspects is always only me. The police registered the information of everyone present. Before leaving, the officer glanced at me. You are an employee of the store. Come to the station tomorrow to give a statement. Okay. They took away that bottle of toilet cleaner, the surveillance hard drive, and the shop owner's wife. As the shop owner's wife was helped into the police car, she looked back at me. There was no hatred in that look, nor any shame, only a face full of terror. She still doesn't understand what exactly happened, just like when she hit the back of my hand with a stapler in the past life. She never once thought she had done anything wrong. The shop closed the day after the boss's wife was taken away. Boss Zheng pulled the rolling shutter door halfway down and sat inside smoking, one cigarette after another, until the butts on the floor formed a thick layer. I came in as usual this morning, not because I wanted to, but because Boss Zheng called and told me to come, saying he had something to tell me. When I walked in, my cousin was there too. He was sitting in the corner, his eyes swollen and his nose bright red. My aunt had her arm around him, wiping away his tears with one hand and gently patting his back with the other. What are you afraid of? You're a minor, they can't do anything to you. But aunt was taken away. My younger cousin sniffled, his nose running. That's her own doing. Who told her to sell it even though she knew there was a problem? What does that have to do with you? It's not like you knew it was toilet cleaner. Leaning against the doorframe, I nearly burst out laughing when I heard this. He poured the entire bottle in. On the bottle, 3 large characters said, toilet cleaner, and he said he didn't know, but I didn't laugh. My face showed no expression at all. Boss Zheng put out his cigarette and looked up at me. Xiao Qiu, come over and sit down. I sat down on the stool across from him. You saw what happened yesterday. The shop can't open for now. The health inspection agency has sealed off the kitchen, and they won't allow us to operate until the test results come out. But someone has to deal with the aftermath. I looked at him and didn't respond. Director Zhang's table had 8 people hospitalized. That old lady is still in the ICU. Director Zhang's son called and said we have to bear all the medical expenses, otherwise he'll sue. That's only right. Boss Zhang's eyebrows shot up sharply. Only right. Do you know how much the ICU costs per day? Just that old lady alone costs several thousand a day. Add up all 8 people, it'll probably be hundreds of thousands. What does that have to do with me? How can you say it has nothing to do with you? Boss Zheng slapped the lighter in his hand hard onto the table. You're an employee of this shop. You tended the stove all night, and the food passed through your hands. How could you not be responsible? I feel cold. Here it comes. In my past life, I voluntarily spilled the soup, and they made me pay for it. In this life, I didn't spill it, but they still want me to pay. I cut the vegetables, and the boss's wife decided to keep selling the soup. The surveillance footage shows everything clearly. What responsibility do you want me to take? Don't argue with me, mister. Zhang's face immediately darkened. My aunt quickly chimed in from the side. Exactly, Chiu, did you already know? Your cousin said you were standing right at the door at the time, you saw it, so why didn't you stop it, my younger cousin lifted his head from her arms and looked at me. Cousin, you saw it, didn't you? Why didn't you tell aunt? This face, this 16-year-old face, crying in the previous life that I had wronged him, now crying in this life to ask why I didn't stop it. No matter what he did, in the end, the blame always falls on me. I didn't see it. I repeated what I had said yesterday. You're lying. My aunt's voice suddenly sharpened. I wasn't in the kitchen, as you saw from the surveillance footage, so. You came back later, and when you smelled the soup, didn't you notice anything wrong? The boss's wife smelled it, and she said it was fine. That remark completely shut Mr. Zheng up. He drew a breath, lowering his voice to barely a whisper. Xiao Qiu, let me be real with you. My wife is in custody right now. If she's convicted, this shop is done for. You've been with us for 3 years, and we've treated you well. Speak. When you go in to give your statement, could you put in a good word for us? What should I say? Just say that you also smelled the soup and thought it smelled fine. That way, my wife wasn't knowingly selling a problematic product. At worst, it's just negligence. I looked at him, hearing every single word clearly. In the previous life, they made me use the scar on the back of my hand to accompany a pot of soup. In this life, they want me to use a piece of false testimony to save his wife. You mean, you want me to commit perjury? I don't care about any perjury or not, it's just saying a word to help. No. Boss Zhang's face instantly darkened. My aunt stood up and rushed over to me in a few quick steps. Xiao Qiu, what do you mean by that? That family has done you favors. You've been eating here for 3 years, and now that they're in trouble, you just wash your hands of it. A favor. I look at her. 600 yuan a month. Every cent came from my own hard work, didn't it? You. My mom walked in from outside. The moment she entered, she saw me and my aunt confronting each other, her face a chaotic mix of emotions. Xiao Qiu, Mom, are you here to persuade me to commit perjury too? She opened her mouth, but in the end, nothing came out. I stood up. I'll go give my statement tomorrow. I'll tell the truth, say what needs to be said, not one word more, not one word less. As I reached the door, my cousin's voice came from behind. Sis, you're so cold-hearted. I didn't look back. In the past life, you poured toilet cleaner into the soup, then cried and said I had falsely accused you, and on the day you watched me being sent off to the cripple's house, you hid behind the door and snickered. Who is truly crueler at heart? On the day of the statement, I ran into someone at the police station gate, Director Zhang's son. He looked to be in his early 30s, wearing a dark jacket, with heavy dark circles under his eyes. Are you from autumn-flavored deli? I work at the store. He looked at me for a moment. My mom has been in the ICU for 3 days, her esophagus is burned through with a hole. The doctor said even if she survives, she'll only be able to have liquids from now on. I stood there, my fingers clenching unconsciously. In my past life, all these people were fine, because in that past life, I had thrown away that pot of soup. Don't you know that soup is problematic? His eyes instantly turned red. I don't know, you don't know, you worked in that kitchen for 3 years, and you expect me to believe you didn't know a whole bottle of toilet cleaner was poured into the soup. I wasn't in the kitchen when the toilet cleaner was poured in. He stared at me intensely, his lips trembling for a moment. In the end, he said nothing more, turned, and walked into the police station. I sat on the chair in the hallway for half an hour before it was my turn. The officer taking the statement was a young policeman, and he asked very detailed questions. When did you enter the back kitchen? Around 4 in the afternoon. Did you smell any unusual odor back then? The boss lady said the soup was fine and told me to watch the stove. Did you yourself notice anything unusual about the taste of the soup? I thought about it. I didn't drink any. Why didn't you drink it? The interrogation room was silent for a second. It was too hot. My answer was just 3 words. The interrogation record took over an hour. As I walked out of the interrogation room, I saw the shop owner's wife sitting at the other end of the corridor. She was wearing the gray uniform of the detention center, her hair disheveled, and her eyes deeply sunken, a completely different person from the woman who had been cursing just 2 days earlier. When she saw me, she immediately stood up. Xiao Qiu, the nearby police officer stopped her, and she paused, but her mouth kept going. Xiao Qiu, what did you tell them? Did you speak up for me? I looked at her and didn't answer. Xiao Qiu, I'm begging you, just say you smelled it too and thought it was fine. I've finished recording. What did you say? The truth. Her face instantly fell. It's not anger, it's utter despair, you ungrateful wretch, her voice hissed through clenched teeth. I've supported you for 3 years, and this is how you repay me. I didn't respond, raising me for 3 years, 600 yuan a month, working all year round without a day off, hitting the back of my hand with a ladle, even docking a chicken leg from my wages. That's what you call raising me. I turned and walked out. Outside the police station, my mother and my aunt were standing side by side at the bottom of the steps. They had come together. My mom looked at me. Xiaoqiu, what did the transcript say? The truth. My aunt's face instantly darkened. What truth? Did you or did you not say that your younger brother didn't mean it? Whether he meant it or not is not for me to say. My aunt stepped forward and reached out to grab me. Starting a fight at the police station gate. Want to invite the people inside to come out and watch. Her hand froze in mid-air. My mother gave her a tug. Xiaoqiu, just say what you need to say. Don't provoke your aunt. I'm not provoking her. Can you put in a good word for your brother? He's only 16. If he gets a criminal record, his whole life will be ruined. I looked at my mom. His whole life will be ruined. When you married me off to that paralyzed man in your previous life, did you ever think that my life was already ruined long ago? His business has nothing to do with me. Of course it matters. You're his sister. He's the one who poured the toilet cleaner, not me. The corner of my mother's mouth twitched. Just then, my aunt suddenly crouched down, covered her face, and began to cry. Xiaoqiu, Auntie is begging you. Xiao Jie's father passed away early, leaving just the two of us. Please say something for him, even just one sentence. She cried with tears and snot streaming down her face, a far cry from the imposing manner she had when forcing me to pay for the soup in my past life. I looked down at her, momentarily dazed. This woman, on the day of my wedding in my past life, came to the feast carrying a fish, smiling so hard her eyes turned into slits. My cousin was standing right behind her, secretly laughing. Aunt, I told you, this has nothing to do with me. There's no way I can help him. You just don't want to help. Suddenly, my mother's tone turned harsh. You've been stubborn since you were little, hard-mouthed and hard-hearted. People say raising a daughter is like having a little sweetheart. How did I end up with someone like you? These words hit me hard, like a slap across the face. It wasn't the first time I'd heard them. In my previous life, I heard them for 15 years. Eventually, I came to believe them myself, that I was just a worthless, useless thing. But in this life, I no longer believe. Mom, are you done talking? She was taken aback for a moment. If you're done, I'm leaving. Where are you going? Find a place to live. This shop is going under. And I need to find a new job. What do you mean? You're just going to wash your hands of it? Wash my hands of what? Of looking after my cousin, the boss's wife, all of you. In my past life, I bit my tongue hard. I almost let it slip. My mom looked at me, puzzled. Do what? Nothing. Last time you made me pay for the soup. This time you want me to give false testimony. I can't afford it, and I won't do it. I turned and walked away. Behind me, my aunt's sobs grew fainter and fainter. I didn't look back. The news spread much faster than I had expected. Within just one day, the whole town knew. Chiui's braised dishes had toilet cleaner mixed into the marinade. At Director Zhang's birthday banquet, 8 people were hospitalized, and an elderly woman ended up in the ICU. I found a temporary job at a steam bun shop at the west end of town, washing dishes and chopping vegetables, room and board included. 800 a month. On the third morning, as I was chopping radishes in the back kitchen, the bun shop owner poked his head in. Xiaoqiu, someone out here is looking for you. I went out and saw a stranger's face, a woman, around 40, with chin-length short hair, wearing a gray coat and holding a document folder under her arm. Are you Zhou Xiaoqiu, a former employee of Chiui Deli? I am. My surname is Fong, from the Legal Aid Center. Attorney Zhang's family has retained a lawyer to file a civil lawsuit, and at the same time, the Procuratorate has initiated public prosecution proceedings against your former employer and that minor. What does that have to do with me? You are a key witness in this case. I came to find out whether your former employer or her family members have tried to get you to alter your testimony. I looked at her for 3 seconds. Yes, what did you say? If you ask me, I also smelled the soup and thought it tasted fine. Lawyer Fong wrote all of this down in his notebook. Word for word. You refused. Yes. Has anyone put pressure on you or made verbal threats? I thought about it. The shop owner's wife called me an ingrate. My aunt wanted to start a fight at the police station entrance, but I stopped her. My mom said I'm useless. Attorney Fong's pen paused for a moment, and he looked up at me. Your mom, my mother and my aunt are biological sisters, and my cousin is my aunt's son, so Those who attempted to suborn you into committing perjury include your mother. I didn't answer. She closed the notebook. Zhou Xiaoqiu, here is the current status of this case. The surveillance footage has confirmed two things. First, your cousin poured toilet cleaner into the stew pot. Second, after your former employer smelled something wrong, he chose to add spices and continue selling the food. These two facts are ironclad. As an employee, there is currently no evidence that you were involved in any illegal activity, but the opposing party may argue during the trial that you were negligent in your duties, attempting to shift part of the blame onto you. On what grounds? I tugged at the corner of my mouth and smiled. In my past life, I checked it, poured the soup out directly, and ended up paying for 15 years. In this life, I haven't seen it, watching them march toward their own demise. Yet I still have to pay the price. What do you mean by coming to me? I'm here to inform you that the prosecutor's office may summon you to testify in court. Also, if you need legal aid, I can help you for free. Why? Because in this case, you are the only one who hasn't done anything wrong. I was taken aback. 20 years, 2 lifetimes. For the first time, someone said I did nothing wrong. Thank you. When Lawyer Fong left, he gave me a business card. In the afternoon, as I was chopping vegetables, my phone rang. It was my mom. Xiaoqiu, your aunt swallowed half a bottle of sleeping pills at home and has been taken to the hospital. The knife in her hand froze abruptly. Your cousin is terrified and has been crying non-stop. He won't let anyone touch him. He said if you won't speak up for him, he'd rather die. I held the knife, standing still without moving. Are you going to help or not? Your aunt is dying. What more do you want? I take a deep breath. How much did aunt take? Half a bottle. Did she get her stomach pumped? In the shower. Then she's fine. What do you mean, fine? You, Mom. Half a bottle of sleeping pills is fine after gastric lavage, asked the doctor. If what I said isn't true, there was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. You mean she's faking it? I didn't say she was faking, I said she's fine. Xiaoqiu, how can you be so hard-hearted? Mom, when you sent me off to be the wife of a paralyzed man, did you ever stop to think if I was hard-hearted? The moment those words left my mouth, my mind went blank. No, in this life, that hasn't happened yet. It was quiet on the other end of the line for a long time. What cripple? What are you talking about? Nothing, I misspoke. Xiaoqiu, are you out of your mind? No, I'm hanging up now. I hung up the phone, gripping the knife as I stood there, palms drenched in sweat. I almost let it slip again. The memories of my past life and the experiences of this one are tangled together. Sometimes I can't tell where the boundary lies, but there is one thing I am very clear about, no matter the lifetime. I don't owe any of them a thing. On the day of the court hearing, quite a few folks from town came to watch the spectacle. A crowd gathered at the entrance of the small courthouse, all of them regulars of Chiue's braised delicacies. Someone pointed at the back of the email shop owner, saying 10 years of aged marinade paired with toilet cleaner. Now that's something else. Someone nearby chimed in, no wonder it gets more fragrant the longer it simmers. I sat in the witness stand, wearing the Baozi shop's work uniform, with flowers still on my cuffs. No time to change. Lawyer Fong had called urgently, saying the court schedule had been moved up. The shop owner sat at the defendant's table, looking even thinner than when I last saw her at the police station. The hollows of the cheeks sank in, and the cheekbones jutted out. When she saw me, her lips moved, but in the end, no sound came out. My younger cousin was not sitting in the courtroom. As a minor, his case was handled separately. Present today were my aunt by marriage and the court-appointed legal aid lawyer. My aunt sat in the front row of the gallery, clutching a wad of tissues, her eyes red. My mother sat next to her, glanced at me, and then quickly looked away. Boss Zheng sat beside his wife, having hired a lawyer. He seemed to have spent a fair amount of money. His hair was slicked down neatly, and he wore a watch on his wrist. The judge began the hearing. The prosecution presented all the evidence, surveillance footage, the chemical test report of the braising liquid, and the victim's medical diagnosis certificate. The test report concluded that high concentrations of hydrochloric acid and sodium hypochlorite residues were detected in the braising liquid, hundreds of times above the safety standard. The owner's lawyer argued that she was unaware the brine had been intentionally contaminated and had simply added seasonings based on her experience. The prosecutor played key clips from the surveillance footage. The footage zoomed in. The owner approached the brine barrel, took a sniff, visibly frowned, then grabbed a handful of spices and threw them in. After noticing the unusual smell, the defendant's first reaction was not to inspect or discard the brine, but to try to mask it with spices. This is not negligence, It is knowingly proceeding to sell the food despite clear signs of abnormality. After the prosecutor finished speaking, a murmur of discussion arose from the audience. It was my turn to testify. The judge looked at me. Witness, please describe your work situation in the kitchen that day. I started talking from 3 in the afternoon and didn't stop until I delivered the evening dishes to Dua Tower. There was one question in between. The prosecutor asked me, did your former employer ever ask you to taste test that day's braising broth? Yes. My cousin brought a bowl over and told me to drink it. Did you drink it? No. Why? The court fell silent for a second. It was too hot. My answer is only 3 words long. The boss's lawyer seized on this point and pressed further. Since the witness did not drink the brine soup, does that mean you cannot confirm the condition of the soup either? Attorney Fong immediately stood up. At that time, the witness was working as a handyman and was not responsible for the preparation or quality control of the marinade. The management and final decision-making authority for the marinade rested entirely with the defendant, as clearly outlined in the division of labor. The judge nodded and made a note of it in the record. The final segment was the victim representative's statement. Director Zhang's son stood up, his voice hoarse. My mother is 72 years old and has never harmed anyone in her life. She ate a braised meat dish on June 14th, and to this day, the scar in her esophagus hasn't healed. She can only drink rice paste through a straw every day. He took a photo out of his pocket. The photo showed an elderly woman with gauze wrapped around her neck and a feeding tube inserted through her nose. During the Lunar New Year this year, she told me that the smell of braised meat now makes her want to vomit. His voice faltered for a moment. In the audience, someone secretly wiped away tears. I sat in the witness box, looking at that photograph. In the previous life, none of this had happened. I poured that bucket of soup away, and that old lady lived through every single New Year in peace and stability. The price was the scar on the back of my hand, and 15 years as a bedridden cripple. In this life, I did not pour it away. The old lady's esophagus was burned through, and the back of my hand remained smooth. Which one is more right, I don't know, but I knew I would never walk that path from my past life again. The verdict was announced in court. The proprietress was found guilty of producing and selling food products that do not meet safety standards, and was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months in prison, along with a fine. When she heard the verdict, her whole body instantly went limp, and she was promptly supported by the bailiff. Mr. Zhang's face turned very grim. My aunt, from the public gallery, broke down in tears. My mother sat beside her, silent, wringing her fingers. As we left the courtroom, Mr. Zhang hurried after us. Xiao Qiu, the medical expenses and compensation add up to over 500,000. Even if I sell everything I have, I can't scrape together that much. Could you ask that lawyer Fong if we can pay in installments? You should ask your own lawyer about that. My lawyer just takes money but does nothing. None of my business. He stood at the entrance of the courtroom, motionless. As I walked past him, I heard him murmur something under his breath. You have a heart of stone. I paused for a step. This sentence, the boss's wife said it in a past life, my cousin said it, my aunt said it, and my mom said it. Now, Boss Zheng has said it too. Everyone who has ever wronged me ends up calling me ruthless. I keep walking forward, never looking back. The sign of autumn-flavored deli was taken down one day, and I passed by. The iron door was sealed with a strip of paper, and the glass was plastered with small ads on the doorstep. There were still 10-year-old braising stains that wouldn't wash away. Mr. Zheng transferred the shop. Word has it he sold it for 120,000, not even a fraction of the compensation. He later found a job at the construction site, carrying cement. My cousin was sentenced to community correction. Because he was under 18, he was not sent to prison, but a criminal record remained. My aunt would weep to anyone who would listen, saying her son's life was ruined, and that it was all my fault. My mother never came to find me, not even once. One evening half a month later, as I was finishing up work in the kitchen of the bun shop, lawyer Fong arrived. The case is closed. You have nothing to do with the compensation, so you can rest assured. I know, there's one more thing. She hesitated for a moment. In your cousin's community correction materials, there's a testimony from him that mentions a detail. He said pouring toilet cleaner into the braising soup wasn't the first time. The knife in my hand stopped abruptly as I was cutting vegetables. What do you mean? He said he tried it once before, just a little bit, and no one noticed or tasted anything wrong. After that, he thought it was fun, so that day he poured in the whole bottle. I stood there, dazed. Funny, he thought it was funny, pouring toilet cleaner into someone's food. He thought it was funny. This statement is currently only within the judicial system and hasn't been made public, but I felt you should know. Thank you. after Lawyer Fong left, I stood in the kitchen for a long time. In my previous life, I stopped him from pouring toilet cleaner a second time. I thought that was the first and only time. It turns out that wasn't the case. I didn't know it at the time, but he had already collapsed once before. What happened to those who ate the braised snacks that time? Did anyone suffer from a sore throat, stomach pain, or cracked corners of the mouth? Did anyone go to the clinic, only to be treated for common gastroenteritis, get a shot, and then go home? I don't know. There's no way to know now, but I learned one thing. In my past life, I stopped him, not just once, but prevented a much greater disaster. What I got in return were scars, a heated bed, and 15 years of darkness without sunlight. In this life, I didn't stop him. A disaster occurred, 8 people were hospitalized, and an elderly woman suffered esophageal burns, regardless of whether they were stopped or not. Among those injured, there was never anyone who deserved to be hurt. In the evening, I sat alone in the attic behind the bun shop. The attic was very small, with a bed and a table, and the window faced the town's main street. The town's lights came on, the same orange-yellow as in the previous life. The phone rings. It was an unfamiliar number. Hey, is this Zhou Xiaoqiu? I'm from the east end of town. My surname is Chen, from the east end of town. Surname Chen. My heart skipped a beat. In my past life, I was married off to the east end of town, to a lame man surnamed Chen. What is it? I heard that Chiwei Lu Kai had some issues, so you left. I happen to need an extra hand here. My legs aren't what they used to be, and there's usually no one at home to look after me. Your aunt mentioned you could come. My aunt told him, the exact same opening as in the previous life. In that previous life, my mother and aunt sent me over, saying it was to settle the soup incident. As long as Boss Jing didn't pursue it, I would go and be a daughter-in-law to the Chen family. The autumn-flavored braised dishes shop is out of business this lifetime. The boss lady has been taken in, and no one is forcing me to pay for the soup, but my aunt still pushed me in that direction, not because of the soup, but because she thought from the very beginning that I was only fit to end up there. Sorry, Uncle Chen, but I already have a job, your aunt said. How much can you earn working at the bun shop? Come work for me, room and board included. No, thank you. I hung up the phone. As I pressed my finger to turn off the screen, I saw the skin on the back of my hand, smooth, without scars. The scar from a cast iron ladle in my previous life had followed me for 15 years, never fading. It lies on the back of my hand, splitting open every time I strain to relieve myself, oozing thin streaks of blood. In this life, it no longer exists. That scar is no longer on my hand. It has grown somewhere else. There is one in the old lady's esophagus. Those strangers who ate the braised food laced with toilet cleaner for the first time but didn't notice anything wrong may also have invisible scars in their bodies. I turned my palms over, and then back again. A pair of clean hands. I can't tell if I've gained or lost. The wind blows in through the window, carrying the scent of steamed buns from the shop. I have to get up at 5 tomorrow to knead the dough. 800 yuan a month. Life isn't great, but it's not bad either. At least it's mine. I turned off the light and lay down on the small bed in the attic. The ceiling was pitch black, unlike the one in the paralyzed man's room in my previous life. That ceiling had a crack in it, and I stared at it for 15 years. This one does not. I closed my eyes. There is no scar on the back of the hand. That is enough. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. A popular live streamer came to my house as a guest. To maximize the show's effect, she deliberately put toilet cleaner into the juice as a prank. Unaware of this, I picked up the glass and drank it heartily, which resulted in permanent burns to my vocal cords, leaving me unable to speak ever again. After the incident went viral on the live stream, they came to my house with shame, knelt down to apologize, and offered compensation, but little did I expect that the very next day, after the compensation was paid, I was imprisoned on charges of fraud. They even teamed up with my mother to fabricate evidence and issued a statement online. She drank it herself to extort money and then demanded 5 million in hush money from me. How could I possibly have that much money? Even her own parents couldn't stand it anymore. Everyone, please judge for yourselves. As a result, I was collectively sued by righteous netizens, who demanded a harsher sentence. On the day of the trial, I was stabbed to death by a die-hard fan who rushed onto the stage. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my parents said a big internet celebrity was coming to our house, and this time, I discovered an even deeper secret. Ting Ting, remember to buy a roast chicken and a roast goose on your way home from work. We have a distinguished guest coming to our house today. A big internet celebrity with tens of millions of followers, my mother's excited voice came through the phone. Instantly pulling me back to reality from my daze, I opened my mouth, and after realizing I could actually make a sound, I was so excited that I couldn't control my volume and let out a scream. "You little brat, are you trying to deafen me? You really have no sense. I'll go prepare the cold dishes first. Make sure you remember to bring everything you need tonight." Listening to my mother's sarcastic words, my heart began to pound wildly. The stomach that had just been sliced open by the knife a moment ago was now completely intact, no searing, tearing pain, and no voices of scrutiny or condemnation from the crowd. I have truly been reborn. In my previous life, my mother, who was walking the dog downstairs, happened to meet the internet celebrity Chu Xinlian, who was live streaming outdoors. Seeing the live stream's viewership exceed 10,000, my mother was overjoyed and eagerly invited her home as a guest. Chu Xinlian appeared pure and cute on the outside, but in reality, her content was quite the opposite. She specialized in playful pranks and mischief. This kind of content was typically produced by male creators, and as a female streamer, she was the first to venture into it, which allowed her to gain hundreds of thousands of followers in just 3 months. Any family familiar with her live streaming routine wouldn't primarily invite her over as a guest. Before this, Chu Xinlian had already been turned down by 3 households, so, in the voting rights of netizens, Chu Xinlian chose to accept my mom's request. Brothers, today's guest mission is also a complete success. Same as usual, the prank starts once the gifts are sent out. The moment she arrived at my house, Chu Xinlian grabbed her assistant and turned on the camera, immediately starting to comment on every aspect of my home. "Look at these old items. They seem even older than I am. This house really has its own hidden charm. This carpet is practically bursting at the seams, and the style of underwear on the balcony is just hilarious. Brothers, just say what you want to play. Your sister Lian will take care of the consequences." So when the camera turned to the shelf with my photos and trophies, the live stream went wild. "This girl is pretty. What's written on the trophy? Pick it up and take a look." When they clearly saw the first prize for the broadcasting and hosting competition written on it, the live stream started getting flooded with rockets, because specific gifts correspond to specific pranks. So the next second, Chu Xinlian let go right in front of my brother's astonished expression. She even pouted and coquettishly said to my brother, who had just woken up from his room, "Oh, brother, I didn't mean to. What should we do now?" My brother, who had been single for many years, suddenly saw a girl as beautiful as a fairy, right in front of the live camera. His old face flushed, and he even got a nosebleed. This made the netizens in the live stream burst into laughter, and soon everyone started flooding the screen with comments. "Brother nosebleed can't hold on anymore. Is that a homeless person? Looks pretty funny." After my brother pretended to be cool and threw the trophy into the trash, Chu Xinlian was still clapping and cheering on the side. "Brother is so generous, truly a man of character." So, under the temptation of the beauty trap, my brother spilled all my embarrassing childhood stories. As my popularity soared, a netizen spent 50,000 yuan on gifts, demanding that my own brother prank me. My brother gladly accepted, and even after learning that the netizen had ill intentions, he proactively brought juice to help Chu Xinlian add something extra. Not only was toilet cleaner added, but Chu Xinlian also used my toothbrush cup to scoop water from the toilet and poured it into the cup. "If we're going to play, let's make it big. Kids, don't try this at home." After running to 4 or 5 stores to buy everything my mom wanted, I had just returned home when Chu Xinlian handed me a cup. "Thank you for your hard work, sister. I'm sorry for causing you trouble today." Seeing her sincere and well-behaved appearance, I let my guard down, completely ignoring my brother's somewhat gleeful expression. In the sweltering heat, I downed the liquid in the cup in one gulp, but the next second, a searing pain in my throat made me vomit a mouthful of blood. Chu Xinlian acted as if she hadn't seen it, turning the camera directly to thank the big brother for the gift. Clutching my mouth in pain, I trembled on the ground, drenched in cold sweat, silently begging my brother to call ambulance. Then my mom came out and scolded me. "What time is it? Just getting back. Do you know how long you've kept the guests waiting? Stop pretending to be dead on the floor and go serve the dishes in the kitchen." At that moment, Chu Xinlian realized that I really wasn't pretending, and her face turned pale. She immediately shut down the live stream and hurried away. All that was left was me lying on the ground, unconscious. According to the hospital test results, my esophagus was severely burned, and my vocal cords were permanently damaged. I could never speak again. She, who had originally refused to show her face, burst into tears upon hearing that I had reported the incident to the police and knelt in my hospital room, begging for my forgiveness. She even proactively offered to compensate 5 million, as long as I withdrew the lawsuit, and promised never to be a prank blogger again. Under her superb acting skills, I genuinely believed it, but the very next day, I was arrested by the police for questioning and was even charged with fraud. Even my family changed their statements overnight, claiming they had already communicated privately in advance. This is just for the show's effect. I drank it all on purpose just to extort someone. Recalling this, I couldn't help but tremble with anger, not just because of my family's betrayal and the indifference of netizens. What infuriated me even more was the despicable mindset of these unscrupulous influencers, who would stop at nothing to make money. I genuinely wanted to grab a knife and stab her right then and there, so she could never harm anyone again, but having died once, I have gained a deeper understanding of life and family. Since no one stands by my side and no one loves me, I will start by loving myself first. By the time I returned home, I had already watched half an hour of the live stream content outside. Chu Xinlian not only went to the bedroom to live stream without permission, but also deliberately went to the bathroom to show everyone the used sanitary pads in the trash can. My mom was absolutely thrilled by these shameless antics and had no intention of stopping them at all. My brother was completely smitten with her too. He did whatever she asked, eagerly sharing his private life with everyone like a devoted lackey. So, just as she was happily showing off her specially prepared spiked juice, I suddenly pushed the door open and walked in. Before she could react, I immediately opened my phone and started a live stream. Pointing it at her, I shouted excitedly, "Oh my goodness, isn't this Lian? She actually came to visit my home. Everyone, come and take a look." Faced with my sudden move of shoving the phone in her face, Chu Xinlian's eyes immediately flashed with a hint of disgust, but as more and more people joined my live stream, she had no choice but to maintain a pleasant expression. Standing up and sweetly greeting everyone through the phone, I looked at the cup placed on the table, took it first, and, pretending to be inexperienced, shouted at the phone screen, 25,000 people, everyone is so enthusiastic, we don't have much to offer at home. Lian, hurry up and sit down, we happen to have this, have some juice to settle your stomach." Chu Xinlian indeed showed a look of disgust at the yellow liquid pushed right in front of her and glared directly at me. "I just had a drink, thank you, sister, you should have it, it was originally prepared for you." Seeing her unwillingness, I could only pretend to be hurt and pushed the cup aside. Too bad, I hate orange juice the most, but the big spender in the live stream immediately became unhappy. After all, he had spent 50,000 yuan, and he couldn't let this prank fail. I glanced at the screen and saw the comment, "refund," floating by, then turned my attention back to the comments in my own live stream. With no other choice, Chu Xinlian reluctantly changed her strategy. She took advantage of my rest inside the house to make another glass of juice. To cover her tracks, she placed a glass in front of every seat, but unfortunately, I had already seen her little trick through the indoor surveillance, so, while she was in the kitchen filming my mom cooking with the camera, I secretly swapped the drinks. When it was time to eat, "Sister, this is freshly squeezed, I just had my assistant buy it. It's really delicious." Seeing her insistence, I raised an eyebrow and looked at her. "Well, that's quite the expense then." So, under her expectant gaze, I had just taken a sip through the straw when she slapped the table and burst into laughter. "Yay, mission accomplished, thanks to my brother for sending the plane." Seeing my puzzled and even unmoved expression, she then mocked me in front of the camera. "Oh my god, she has absolutely no sense of taste. Or maybe she's a toilet and just loves drinking toilet cleaner." Watching her laugh so hard she couldn't straighten up, I smiled back, until she unsuspectingly picked up her own cup and took a big gulp. Chu Xinlian completely stopped laughing, gagging and clutching her throat. She shot me a fierce glare. "What did you do?" The hoarse voice made her realize something was wrong with the drink. I shook my head, smiling innocently. "I don't know, are you putting on a show again, Lian? Your acting is just too good." With the help of her assistant, Chu Xinlian was about to leave immediately, but at that moment, I suddenly noticed the shattered trophy. Screaming, I grabbed her as she tried to run away. "How did my trophy break?" "You can't leave, you have to pay for my trophy. This trophy is the result of my hard work. How did it break as soon as you arrived? If you leave, I'll call the police." Since the drinks this time were bought by the assistant, a young girl who had just turned 18, she was terrified at the mention of calling the police. She quickly left Chu Xinlian and hurried downstairs, and my mother, as if she knew nothing, Hid inside the room, Chu Xinlian was retching just as miserably as I had in my previous life, with a few traces of blood at the corners of her mouth. Her pleading gaze turned toward my brother, and after he stood up, I also pretended to be angry, releasing her arm and shoving her toward the room. Everyone's bullying me, I'm never coming back. After hearing the door lock from the inside, I wiped away my tears and walked downstairs with a smile. Chu Xinlian still thought she was so sure of herself, but she didn't know that from the moment she stepped into this house, my mother had ulterior motives. This time, she's finally going to get what's coming to her. Ever since my father passed away, my mother's only goal has been to get my brother married and have children as soon as possible. But after my brother graduated from college, he never found a job and just stayed at home, living off our parents. All he does is play games and watch live streams. So no girl is willing to be friends with him. Seeing that my brother is already 35, my mom is getting anxious. In my previous life, I ruined her plan. I caused Chu Xinlian to flee in panic, which is why my mom deliberately fabricated evidence to harm me. But in this life, a prey that comes knocking on the door cannot be easily let go. So, after a night had passed, I returned home as if nothing had happened. The unfinished meal was still sitting untouched on the table. At that moment, Chu Xinlian, who had run out of my brother's room crying, bore ambiguous marks on her body and pleaded with me for help. Just like in her previous life, she knelt pitifully at my feet, her fair face still bearing the red mark of a slap. Although her mouth was open, her hoarse voice was too faint to make out what she was trying to say. My brother came out, pulling up his pants with a look of satisfaction, and upon seeing me, he raised his fist threateningly. If you dare to go out and say a single word, I'll make sure you're dead. As Chu Xinlian was dragged into the house by him, my mother, as if she had just woken up, came out of the room yawning and stretching. I reminded her expressionlessly, Mom, what my brother is doing is illegal. As the slap landed, my mother's expression began to twist. You stupid girl, what nonsense are you talking? If it weren't for your refusal to get married, your brother would have already found a wife. Besides, she's not even a virgin. I feel like my Yaozu is getting the short end of the stick. A woman just needs to be disciplined. Let your brother handle her for a few days, and she'll be fine. Don't you dare meddle in this, or you'll regret it. I covered my numb right cheek, pretending to be scared. Mom, don't worry, I won't say anything. Just as I finished packing my things and was about to move in with my best friend, someone suddenly grabbed me. As soon as I stepped downstairs, the girl in front of me was the assistant Chu Xinlian had brought over yesterday. I thought her flushed face was because she was worried that Chu Xinlian hadn't returned yet, but I never expected that the very next second, she would reveal a shocking secret to me. To make sure I hadn't misheard, I lowered my voice and asked her again for confirmation. You're saying my friend deliberately sent gifts to make Chu Xinlian force me to drink toilet cleaner? The girl in front of me nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I'm telling the truth. Before the broadcast, that person specifically contacted us and even knew your house number. I don't know if you've offended someone, but I wanted to warn you, so you didn't come looking for Chu Xinlian, but to remind me to be careful. The girl nodded heavily, a flicker of disgust crossing her face. I don't care what happens to her. If something goes wrong, she deserves it. I was initially skeptical of the girl, but when she showed me the chat records, my heart sank completely, because the profile picture in the chat history was exactly that of my best friend Huang Weiwei, and the account that sent the gift that day was also rented by her. Go ahead and do it, I'll take responsibility for the outcome. Now I couldn't help but believe it. After the young girl left, I had just arrived at the company when I received a call from Huang Weiwei. When are you coming, sweetie? I've already tidied up your room and bought you a cake. Let's have a proper celebration tonight. Congratulations on escaping that miserable situation. Hearing Huang Weiwei's usual coquettish tone, I knew I couldn't just jump from the tiger's den into the wolf's mouth, so I pretended to be helpless and turned her down. Lately, the company has been requiring overtime, and they've added a late-night program, so I can't come stay with you. The company has arranged a dormitory for me, so there's really no other way. Hearing that I suddenly wasn't going, Huang Weiwei's breathing on the phone grew heavy for a few seconds. Then she stiffly hung up the phone and left me with a harsh warning. I've already prepared everything, and now you're not coming. Are you messing with me? If you don't come today, then you might as well never come again. Of course, what I said was a lie. After working for so many years, I had managed to save up a bit of money without my mother knowing, just renting a house. It's safer to live alone. After all, Huang Weiwei has completely lost my trust at this point. I no longer have the energy to think about Huang Weiwei's motives. because I didn't even reply to her message that day. Moreover, the assistant's kind intentions completely reminded me of my previous life. Wang Weiwei had proactively come to my house to stay overnight before Chu Xinlian's live stream, and this behavior was highly unusual, because my brother couldn't find a girlfriend and repeatedly asked me to introduce Wang Weiwei to him. Wang Weiwei was terrified upon hearing this, so she would rather never set foot in our house again. In the 7 years we've known each other, that was the only time she proactively stayed overnight, so I now strongly suspect that she secretly tampered with the toilet cleaner in my house. Otherwise, why would she have kept insisting that Chu Xinlian must use a specific toilet cleaner that day? Just as I was lost in my thoughts, a notification popped up on my phone reminding me that the live stream was starting. The subtitle, "Chu Xinlian is live streaming," caught my eye. After I clicked in, the first thing I saw was my brother proudly holding Chu Xinlian. The Chu Xinlian in his arms had a vacant, dazed look in her eyes. Whatever my brother said, she would just nod along, her mental state clearly not normal anymore. The content was undoubtedly bragging about how he was going to marry Chu Xinlian, even calling himself her boyfriend. Now Chu Xinlian's fans couldn't stay calm. What is this loser talking about? The goddess must be confused. Is this a new show effect? Get your hands off my goddess right now. Most netizens were outraged by the stark mismatch in appearance between my brother and Chu Xinlian. However, one comment that was being spammed repeatedly in the barrage caught my attention at that moment. I don't believe it. Lian clearly likes me the most. How could she be with you? When I find you, I'll definitely kill you. Kill you. After dozens of repetitions, the live stream was completely banned. I also vaguely remembered the man from my previous life who disguised himself as a security guard in court and lunged at me to stab me to death, and that man, in the end, couldn't be sentenced because he had a mental illness. On the 3rd day after I moved out of the house, my mother called me angrily. Where have you been all these days? Don't you know the power is out at home? Hurry up and pay the utility bills, and buy some groceries while you're at it. There's nothing at home. Are you trying to starve your brother and me to death? Hearing my mother's self-righteous words, I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. I've already moved out and don't even live at home anymore. Why should I be the one to pay? I don't have a single cent to spare. If the power gets cut off, you'll have to figure it out yourself. The moment my mom opened her mouth to start cursing, I hung up the phone and blocked her number. Ever since my dad passed away in my previous life, all the household expenses fell entirely on my shoulders, from major costs like monthly utility bills and groceries, down to small items like tissues and trash bags. I had to buy everything, completely disregarding the fact that I just graduated and my internship salary is only $2,500. They relentlessly exploit me. According to my mom, I've raised you for so long, and it's time for some payback. Other people's daughters give $20,000 a month for household expenses, and you're unhappy with just $2,000. Do you even have a conscience? But the so-called wealthy daughter she mentioned is actually a mistress who can't be brought into the open, just kept by a man 30 years her senior. What's wrong with being a mistress? If you have the guts, go do it yourself. She's not like you. What's the point of having a college degree, a few thousand yuan a month? Who can you even support with that? I should have strangled you the moment you were born. I've known since I was little that my mom favors boys over girls, and the reason she gave birth to me was simply because my dad and she were a blended family. Without a child, she was afraid she wouldn't have any standing in the household. After finding out I was a girl, she became even more disdainful. What's the use of having a girl? Only a son can carry on the family line. Just as she was planning to have another son, my father passed away in a car accident. As a result, her doting on my brother reached its peak, a man in his 30s, and now he even leaves his underwear for my mom to wash. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but feel a wave of disgust in my heart. But what shocked me even more was that, just a few days later, my brother was actually getting married. I told you to come back early to help. Why won't you listen? Do you really want to work me to death? As soon as I pushed the door open, I was met with a torrent of scolding from my mom. You only know how to run wild outside, and you won't come back until I warn you. I think you're really itching for a beating. Chu Xinlian actually didn't call the police. With a suspicious look, I turned my gaze toward Chu Xinlian, who was lying leisurely on the sofa eating watermelon, and when she saw me coming, her eyes suddenly lit up, probably because she had drunk less juice. She could still make a sound now, but her voice was pretty much ruined, as it was extremely hoarse and unpleasant to hear. Sister, you're back. I was just joking earlier. It's good that you're back. As your sister-in-law, I apologize to you, sister-in-law. Just as I was about to voice my confusion, a faint, almost imperceptible flicker of hatred flashed in Chu Xinlian's eyes. "That's right, I've decided to marry your brother. And I'm already pregnant, you won't object, will you?" My mother showed no surprise at Chu Xinlian's sudden change in attitude. Instead, she seemed quite proud. "Don't worry, Xiaolian, my son is a tall, handsome man, standing at 1.7 meters, you won't lose out by being with him. As long as you give our old Zhao family a grandson, you'll have plenty of good fortune ahead." By dinner time, my brother finally emerged from his room, wearing a lecherous grin as he planted a firm kiss on her face. As my brother approached, Chu Xinlian's body stiffened noticeably, and her expression grew visibly uncomfortable. "Honey, don't do that in front of your sister." But soon, I understood why she had agreed to marry my brother. Looking at the unconditional house transfer contract on the table, I was completely stunned. "Is our area really going to be demolished?" Chu Xinlian smiled with a flattering expression. "Little sister, look, you're just a girl after all. And sooner or later you'll get married, why not just leave the house to your nephew when the time comes?" My mother, while cracking sunflower seeds, scolded me. "Your sister-in-law has already said it to this extent, hurry up and sign it." Looking at the clearly unequal terms above, I knew Chu Xinlian must have hated me to the core. Not only was I expected to cover her nutritional supplements during pregnancy, but I even had to take care of the baby formula after the child was born, and I was also supposed to serve her during her postpartum confinement. Seeing my face darken, Chu Xinlian turned her head to the side and began to act coquettishly with my brother. "Husband, I feel like your sister isn't too willing. Does she not want me in this family?" This voice is irritating to the core, so, upon hearing her shameless remarks, I directly picked up the contract and threw it in her face. "Take a look at this agreement yourself. Is this something a human being would do? Why should I be responsible for the child you gave birth to?" My brother and my mother have no understanding of this, so the terms written in the agreement must have been manipulated by Chu Xinlian. "I was wondering why you suddenly agreed to marry my brother. Turns out your voice has turned into a broken gong, and now you can't sweet-talk your way into making money by calling him brother anymore. So you set your sights on my brother, didn't you?" Seeing that I had hit the nail on the head, Chu Xinlian's eyes instantly reddened, a flicker of panic flashing in her gaze. Yet, she gritted her teeth and retorted angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? No wonder your brother is still single at his age. It's all because he has such an unreasonable sister like you." "Fine, I won't marry him anymore, I'll leave." "Okay." Chu Xinlian made a show of opening the door to leave, and my brother's face flushed with anger in an instant. He stepped forward and slammed the table forcefully, warning me, "Can you just shut the hell up? You have no right to judge your future sister-in-law. She's absolutely right. If it weren't for you, I would have been married long ago." My mother, on the other hand, clung to Chu Xinlian's leg, refusing to let her leave, and wailed pitifully as she tugged and shouted, "You heartless wretch, your brother finally has a wife, and you insist on tearing this family apart. She's carrying the lifeblood of our old Zhao family." Seeing that I remained unmoved, Chu Xinlian also began to cry. "If she doesn't sign today, I won't get married. I might as well go die too." I watched her performance with a cold eye, while my brother didn't even bother to think about how bizarre the whole situation was. Which girl would fall in love with the man who raped her? Under normal circumstances, wouldn't one want the other person to die immediately? "If you don't sign today, I'll kill you. See if you can walk out of this house. I've had enough of you." It wasn't until my brother picked up a kitchen knife and held it to my neck that I pretended to be scared and gave in. With a mournful face, I personally signed my name on the contract, but all of this was recorded by the miniature camera on my chest. Whether the contract will be valid by then remains uncertain. Seeing me sign, Chu Xinlian immediately revealed a triumphant smile, putting on an act. "But you signed in the end anyway." My brother, acting like a lackey, quickly handed the contract to her, his face full of caution. "So, Lianlian, is this okay now?" Chu Xinlian glanced at me, gritted her teeth, and said, "Of course it is. We'll go get the marriage certificate tomorrow." The house demolition happened so suddenly that the entire neighborhood struck it rich, especially since it wasn't just about the relocation compensation. Each household also got a new apartment, so with time running out, many people were racing against the clock to get married and have children, as if afraid of missing out on a bargain if they were late. I quietly began my own plan. Wang Weiwei's workplace is very close to mine, but despite graduating from the same school as me, she doesn't work at the TV station. Instead, she works as a receptionist at an advertising company. That's because she was caught being the other woman earlier and was subsequently kept out of the spotlight. The reason I sought her out was because, through our mutual friends, I learned that she had been urgently borrowing money everywhere lately. After all, Wang Weiwei, who spends over 2,000 on her face out of a monthly salary of just over 3,000. I absolutely refuse to believe she has any savings. Moreover, back when she specifically targeted Chu Xinlian to play tricks on me, she spent tens of thousands without batting an eye. It goes without saying that this money was borrowed. When I went to find her, she was at the front desk applying lipstick in front of a mirror, with a man beside her making inappropriate advances. Ugh, how annoying. Amidst her coquettish complaints, I adjusted my expression, put on a pitiful face, and patted the front desk counter. Vivi, do you have time tonight? When Huang Weiwei saw me, her expression immediately turned cold, her eyes filled with resentment. Oh, I thought it was someone else. Weren't you too busy to come see me? You even blocked me. What are you doing here now? To laugh at me. Faced with Huang Weiwei's mockery, I could only wipe away my tears, force a bitter smile, and confide in her. My family's house is about to be demolished, and I've run into a bit of trouble. If you don't want to see me, that's fine. I'm sorry to bother you. Under her astonished gaze, I turned and walked away, while the man beside her flashed a lecherous grin. Is that your friend? Is she single? How about introducing me? Are you fucking disgusting? Get lost. In the evening, Huang Weiwei indeed took the initiative to contact me. Just like in my previous life, I went to her house. The furnishings inside were pretty much the same as before, except that many of the designer bags she used to be so proud of were missing. Those bags used to be placed right in the center of the living room cabinet. Huang Weiwei had never been willing to actually carry them. She only took them out to look at and post on social media. Seeing me crying non-stop and refusing to lift my head, Huang Weiwei's eyes were filled with disdain, but she still pretended to be very concerned and took my hand. Ting, we've known each other for so many years. Don't you trust me? Just tell me whatever's on your mind. We're like sisters. After all, after I tearfully recounted everything I had experienced the previous night, Huang Weiwei's expression immediately changed. Oh, it's not a big deal at all, but is that streamer you mentioned really going to marry your brother? I nodded. Yeah, and what's really strange is that when she pranked me, she only put a little toilet cleaner in it. I just took one sip, and my throat completely gave out. Now my voice sounds awful. My words made Huang Weiwei turn her head away guiltily, looking utterly speechless. What a stupid streamer. Just ignore her. She brought it all on herself. It serves her right that her voice is ruined. Thank goodness you're okay, otherwise you wouldn't be able to work at the radio station. Huang Weiwei spoke lightly, but I still caught a hint of regret on her face, so I lowered my voice and leaned closer to her. But you know what? Chu Xinlian said someone deliberately made me drink it. They purposely put toilet cleaner in my cup. How could someone be so cruel? Once I find out who it was, I'll definitely make them pay. Hearing this, Huang Weiwei's eyes immediately began to dart around. Ting, I think it's all for the sake of the live stream. You can't trust someone like her. She's not normal. You really shouldn't believe what she says. Seeing that she was starting to panic, I made an excuse, saying I was tired, and as usual, headed to the bathroom to shower and go to bed. As soon as I entered the bathroom, Huang Weiwei hurriedly pulled a black bag out from under the bathroom cabinet. This is just trash. I'll go downstairs and throw it away right now. Only after I heard the door slam shut did I quickly wrap myself in a towel and head to Huang Weiwei's bedroom, perhaps because I arrived too suddenly. As soon as I stepped into the room, I noticed a piece of red fabric peeking out from under her bed. There is no red in Huang Weiwei's entire room, so this single item is particularly suspicious. Since I usually sleep in another room, I rarely come to Huang Weiwei's master bedroom. But just as I was pulling the corner of the cloth to investigate further, a sudden scream came from outside the door, followed by a series of arguments and insults. So, when I recklessly pulled out the cloth strip and saw what was inside, my breath instantly stopped. In a stack of photos I took with her, my face was blurred out, and even had various phrases like, die, and trash, written on it, with the appearance of a cloth doll covered in silver needles. I finally realized Huang Weiwei's true feelings toward me. It also completely confirmed the fact that she couldn't stand me living a better life than hers. As the insults grew more intense, I put on my clothes and opened the door to see Huang Weiwei, who had gone downstairs to take out the trash, standing with her hands on her hips, arguing with a girl in front of her. Who can you blame for not watching where you're going? So what if your clothes are torn? Do you really think your clothes are that precious? I'm not paying a dime today. Let's see what you can do about it. What were you planning to do with this thing in the middle of the night? You burned my clothes and bag. If you don't pay up, I'm calling the police. Go ahead and call them. Do you really think I'm scared? You're the one who didn't watch where you were going and bumped into me, and now you're playing the victim and turning the tables on me. But the black, bubbling liquid at her feet and the sulfuric acid packaging bottle made everything clear to me. So she's the one with a guilty conscience, I pretended to suddenly understand, covered my mouth, then walked up to Huang Weiwei and gave her a solid slap. After all the trust one placed in you, so it was you all along. When Chu Xinlian told me it was you, you have no idea how much I didn't want to believe it. No wonder it was so potent after just one sip. I bet you tampered with my toilet cleaner, Huang Weiwei. Just you wait. I'm going back to report this to the police and have them investigate. Faced with my sudden appearance, Huang Weiwei was stunned for a moment, and the young girl started secretly recording with her phone when she saw me come out. Now that I know the truth, Huang Weiwei no longer bothers to pretend. Covering her cheek, she cursed viciously. If I had known, I shouldn't have thrown it away. I should have splashed it right in your face. So what if I did it? Don't you deserve it? Who are you always putting on an act for? I pretended to be heartbroken as I looked at her. Aren't we friends? Why would you harm me? Don't you know I make a living with my voice? Who wants to be friends with you? You never mention how you harmed me. If I hadn't left, how could you have gotten to the position of anchor just by yourself? If I hadn't told that old woman that I was the mistress back then, how could she have found my home so accurately? As Huang Weiwei's words fell, I raised my chin toward the little girl behind her. Let's go. There's no need to talk to her anymore. Just wait for me to call the police. Only then did Huang Weiwei realize that the two of us were in cahoots. So, after Xiao Yu and I got into the elevator, Huang Weiwei finally reacted, picking up the unopened sulfuric acid from the ground and preparing to splash it at us. You bitch, stop right there. But as the elevator doors closed, all I heard was Huang Weiwei's scream. Xiaoya hugged her arms tightly, looking at me with lingering fear. Sister Tingting, is this really going to work? To be honest, I wasn't entirely confident either, although I had deliberately left the key on the dining table. I had no idea whether Huang Weiwei, that lunatic, would actually go. I was just betting on Huang Weiwei's current state of mind, her pathological obsession and complete hatred toward me. Moreover, Xiao Yu's situation is also very complicated. It's not just that I need help, she needs the police's assistance even more to break free from Chu Xinlian's oppression. Xiao Yu did not voluntarily become Chu Xinlian's assistant, they are from the same village. Chu Xinlian is her cousin, who lost her parents at a young age and grew up in Xiao Yu's household. After Xiao Yu stopped attending school, she came to seek refuge with Chu Xinlian, but unexpectedly, under deceptive circumstances, Xiao Yu signed that unequal contract. A 10-year contract and a monthly salary of 800 yuan made Xiao Yu suffer immensely, due to a lack of traffic. Chu Xinlian initially relied entirely on her own people to serve as prank guests, things like eating live loaches, drinking water from public toilets, and picking up leftovers that others had eaten were all things Xiao Yu had done. Moreover, Chu Xinlian had an extremely bad temper, completely unlike the cute and gentle image she portrayed on camera, and she was not at all easy to talk to. Not only does she smoke and drink in private, but she also has a chaotic personal life, intentionally passing on gynecological diseases to Xiaoya. Whenever Xiaoya couldn't bear it anymore and tried to leave, she would suffer inhuman abuse and threats from Chu Xinlian. She was told that if she left, she would be arrested by the police and sent to prison, and even her family would be taken away. In the days that followed, Xiaoya was either locked in the bathroom without food, subjected to random beatings and verbal abuse, or had videos of her abuse recorded and sent to her older brother to curry favor. All of this gave Xiaoya a severe tendency toward depression and self-harm. It's truly infuriating that, after finally making her way out of the mountains, she encountered such scum. So when Xiaoya first showed me the scars on her body, I couldn't help but cry. I had originally intended to call the police immediately, but I changed my mind during the few days when Chu Xinlian couldn't go out. I had Xiao Yu copy all the evidence from Chu Xinlian's home, along with the completely unequal contracts, including the exposure of inhumane onlookers like Huang Weiwei. After all, without the instigation of those dark-hearted netizens, Chu Xinlian would never have gone this far down this path. They are equally guilty. After staying up all night to give my statement at the police station, I handed over the evidence along with Xiaoya's to the police. The moment I stepped out of the police station, the sun began to rise. Just as I had comforted Xiaoya, telling her not to be afraid, a fire truck sped past us, and that direction was exactly where my home was. I couldn't hold back and rushed toward my residential complex. Sure enough, as soon as I got home, I saw 3 people being carried out by firefighters. Neighbors who knew me had already come forward to offer comfort. Ting Ting, it's a good thing you weren't home. Somehow, in the middle of the night while everyone was sleeping soundly, your house caught fire. That's right, Ting Ting, you should hurry home and see if there's anything valuable left. I thought one of them was you. It scared me to death. I was thinking your family couldn't possibly be that unlucky. Amid the neighbors' comforting words, I cried uncontrollably, but as soon as I turned away, I knew this fire was definitely not as simple as it seemed, because as soon as I stepped into the hallway, I saw the keychain on my apartment's security door. That was something I intentionally left at Huang Weiwei's house last night. The fire spread from inside the house, and the main door was locked from the inside with the key still in the lock. If the firefighters hadn't brought a saw, the people inside would have been burned to charcoal if they had arrived any later. They didn't leave even a sliver of hope for survival. The hospital's findings were also surprising. My brother, my mother, and Chu Xinlian all survived. Although it was burned beyond recognition, there was still a breath of life left, so when I was asked whether to save it or not, of course, we must treat it. Not a single one can die. After all, the demolition compensation is about to be implemented. Who would want to turn down money? This is already the greatest value my mother and my brother have. Since my brother and Chu Xinlian have already registered their marriage, it's only natural that she should have a set too. Although it was in the middle of the night and the surveillance in the residential area was unclear, the home security cameras captured Huang Weiwei clearly. She held a lighter, poured gasoline all over the floor, and before leaving, she didn't forget to lock the door from the inside and leave the key in the lock. The charges of intentional arson and deliberate incitement really left Huang Weiwei with no way out. Because the case was quite severe, many media outlets found out that Chu Xinlian was an internet celebrity. They began to speculate and drive traffic in various ways online. There even emerged small groups of her die-hard fans who donated money to help her with medical treatment. After learning the hospital address, they spontaneously came to visit, but they never expected that upon entering, they would see Chu Xinlian's horrifying condition. The encouraging words they had prepared were left unsaid, and they slipped away one by one. The only man who stayed behind was filled with heartache, his eyes carrying a hint of abnormal excitement. Who did this? Who on earth did this? The moment he went berserk, I knew the man before me was the one who had disguised himself as a security guard and killed me in court in my previous life. So, I forced myself to stay calm and moved closer to him, signaling, "The court hearing is the day after tomorrow. We'll find out who did it then." Upon hearing my response, the man punched the glass in front of him and left without looking back. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, I was summoned by the police again. It turns out Huang Weiwei told the police that I was the one who made her do it all. Under her well-reasoned excuses, the police also became suspicious of me. Inside the police station, Huang Weiwei shot me a look as sharp as a knife. Then she shouted excitedly at the police, "Hurry up and arrest her." She deliberately gave me the key to set the fire. It was all her doing. She was the one who ordered me to do it. She only knows how to do these low-class things. I've known her for years, and I know exactly what kind of person she is. I ignored her words completely and walked straight over to a female police officer, showing her the video Xiaoya had secretly recorded that night. The footage continued until the moment the elevator door closed, naturally capturing the instant Huang Weiwei, in a fit of rage, tried to splash sulfuric acid on me. This was when I left her house that day. After that, I came to the police station to file a report. The timing doesn't match at all. Also, I was so shocked that I forgot my keys at her place, and my bag is still at her house. If you don't believe me, you can go check, and besides, they're my own brother and mother. They're the only family I have left. How could I ever bear to harm them? Amid my distraught sobbing, the police also realized that Huang Weiwei was making baseless accusations, but Huang Weiwei seemed to have lost her mind with rage, taking immense pleasure in watching me cry. "That's right, your father is dead, and now your mother is burned like that, your brother is burned like that. You'll never be able to turn your life around. You'll drag them down with you for the rest of your life. Let's see how you manage to live. It's all your fault that your family ended up like this." Amidst her laughter, the police escorted her away. The court date arrived quickly. Although Chu Xinlian was still in the hospital and unable to attend, the evidence was undeniably infuriating. As a result, Xiaoya's contract was swiftly invalidated by the court's ruling. As for Huang Weiwei's case of arson and attempted murder, there was video evidence, leaving her with no room for excuses. Just as the verdict was delivered, unable to accept the prospect of decades in prison, she broke down in a soul-crushing scream. At that moment, a security guard rushed forward and tackled her to the ground. The knife rose and fell, and Huang Weiwei died in the courtroom that afternoon, meeting the same fate as I did, a fitting end for her crimes. 18. After the demolition policy was implemented and it was learned that 3 members of our family had tragically perished in the fire, our family's resettlement compensation was a bit more generous, and after the housing allocation was completed, I paid off all the outstanding hospital bills one by one. After that, I never went to see them again. To save money, I hired the cheapest caregivers available on the market to look after them. I also replaced all the specialized medications with ordinary treatments. Without the support of money, their condition grew increasingly worse. In just half a year, my mother and my brother passed away due to organ failure. As the most resilient one, Chu Xinlian survived and was discharged from the hospital, but she became completely disabled. So, after inheriting the houses from my mother and my brother, I transferred the portion that belonged to Chu Xinlian to Xiaoya. After all, we come from the same place, and I believe Xiaoya won't treat her poorly. 3 months later, while I was on a beach vacation far away, I received a live stream forwarded by Xiaoya. Sister Tingting, I've found that live streaming can really make a lot of money. Thank you for telling me I could do this. The person in the live stream was none other than Chu Xinlian. Sitting in a wheelchair and continuously crying. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.